All right, I think we are live right now. So, hi everyone. I am Cayenne, and so today is going to be a very special episode. I'm going to start off with I have this question that I look up. So, did you know that up to 23.5 million Americans suffer from an autoimmune disease? So that is more than 7% of the population. So, what is the root cause of autoimmune disease? Can autoimmune disease be cured? Well, we are going to learn from our guest, Sherri Bosch, here in a minute, who has developed a way to keep her free from the symptoms of multiple sclerosis for over 10 years. My name is Cayenne Wong, and you are watching Raising Kids Naturally, a series of mommios exploring the best natural living for our family and kids while we are building our business. So, along with me today, of course, we have our co host, Caitlin, here. Hi, Caitlin.
Hello, how are you, Cayenne?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Great. Wow, I love your environment today. It's a little bit
Yeah,
different.
it is a little different. I
I
am at a,
haven't I haven't seen all the places that
yeah,
you're
beautiful Vigas. Yes,
very beautiful.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
New
great, great.
Mexico.
So, Caitlin, how did you meet Sherri?
Yeah, so Sherri and I are both taking a course called Course from Scratch, and it's from Danielle Leslie, and she's a phenomenal person and voice in basically assisting others to learn how to brand their course and become course builders on the online platforms. And so I met Sherri by reaching out to her one day. I saw one of her posts on one of our private groups, and I was like, she seems interesting. And we both kind of are interested in the same stuff, which deals with energy healing, energy work,
Yes.
and utilizing our own capacities to heal ourselves. And so
And
that's how
you're doing it through voice
I'm
as
using
we
the voice.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
exactly. And helping others to use their voice
Great.
and to liberate their voice in order to liberate their souls. And she is doing it through all that she does, which is, Reiki light healing, as well as light language, and what we're going to touch on today,
I
helping
can't wait
others heal
to
themselves from autoimmune disease.
yes.
So
Let's come on and bring her in,
I
right?
think so.
Yes. Hello,
Hello,
Sherri.
Cayenne. Hi, Caitlin. Nice to
Hello,
be
Sherri.
here.
Yes.
So lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am so excited to learn from you. And unlike Caitlin and well, of course, Sherri, but I'm pretty new to this. So when I found out, when I first spoke to Sherri and find out more about what she does, I'm very excited. So Sherri, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and like how did you get into your field?
Sure, sure. So I'm a multidimensional healing practitioner. So I started out as a Reiki practitioner. I'm also have been in education for, 30 years now. I'm a mom of two. And I have quite a journey. So when I was 31, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, autoimmune disorder. And I spent 10 years really changing my lifestyle and shifting my stress levels and all the right things. But it still wasn't enough to prevent these episodes that, if you're familiar with multiple sclerosis, can happen. And so around the 10-year mark, I had 3 episodes in 1 year, unfortunately, and I decided enough was enough. And I took time off to really dive into my own healing in a way that I had never done before. So I have, of course, used traditional therapies and medication and such, and they just weren't working for me. So I discovered through my own research, energy work, tapping, EFT. I discovered yoga. I did a 3-year teacher training program and meditation, and just went from there, became a Reiki master. And the difference that it made in my symptoms was phenomenal. In fact, the symptoms no longer existed. So I've spent the last almost 10 years now really working within myself to heal a lot of my own things that are physical, but also have a very deep emotional component, like we all have, just being human in the human experience. And I love working and helping people to know how to heal themselves. My goal is just to empower people so that they can take control of their health and their life and really thrive with purpose going forward.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
That's great. That's excellent. Yeah. Yes, because I saw it on your, slogan, kind of, whereas I like how you phrase it, like the disease, and
Yes.
then help people to thrive and growth with a purpose, even
Yeah.
though you're managing the disease. So can you, so for people like myself, similar to myself, who doesn't really have a lot of knowledge about that, can you dive in a little bit deeper and explain to us, what do you do? What do you do with your clients?
Sure. So I work with many different types of clients. So I work with clients who have never had energy work before. I work with clients who are really quite versed in energy work. They're doing maybe energy work for themselves, or they're coaching, or I do a lot of spiritual coaching, or they're really kind of really helping to facilitate the shift that's going on the planet right now. So I work a lot with people who are trying to release a lot of emotional components, a lot of deep belief systems, a lot of mindset, self-sabotaging kind of things that prevent us from being in that space where we're completely knowing ourselves well and able to do the things that we love and have this really joyful life. So I work with a lot of people. Primarily right now, I'm working with a lot of healing practitioners and people who are on the spiritual journey, but I do work with people who are not in that way as well.
Great. Awesome. So, we are here today mainly talking about autoimmune disease. I always pronounce it like autumn, but it's autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
So what is the root cause of autoimmune disease? Like, I know Caitlin briefly mentioned, last time when her and I were just chatting, is really like a form of inflammation, correct?
It has, yes, they found that it's definitely related to inflammation in the body. And so this is not just like, you stub your toe and you have inflammation. This is a chronic internal inflammation within the organs and the systems in the body. It's also where your immune system is really reading parts of your body and your organs as a threat. And so it kind of turns in on particular system. Like with MS, it's really about, it attacks the myelin sheath, which is actually the nerve coating in the brain and or the spinal cord. And so that can cause a lot of disruption in the body. And other diseases, it might be the eyes, or it might be a certain organ. There are a lot of autoimmune disorders that people deal with. But yeah, they don't know the exact cause. They just know how it shows up. There are causes and theories about like Epstein-Barr virus, which is just a dormant virus in the body that can be activated through stress or genes, or there's a lot of lifestyle. There's a lot of different ways, emotional component, experiences. There's sometimes, I know there's a lot of research around vitamin D, that a lot of people with autoimmune disorders have a deficiency in vitamin D. And so when you're first diagnosed, one of the protocols right now recently is to prescribe therapeutic doses of vitamin D. That's another one. Yeah.
Got it. So the big question, can autoimmune disease be cured?
It's a great question. And I say that because I've seen a lot of forums where like people it's kind of a trigger question, people are like, I want to be cured. I hesitate to say that they can be cured. I do believe in my own experiences that you can starve it into a benign state, because for example, with multiple sclerosis, there are actual like plaques in that disruption in those neurons that can be seen on, say, like an MRI, right? So you can't necessarily reverse, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but you can't really reverse that damage, but you can, and maybe you can, I don't know. But I think it's safe to say that you can work with what's already happened within the body. So I've gotten to the place where those symptoms, and they don't really exist for me anymore. I don't have episodes anymore. I think that with many, many different protocols, including energy work, you can really starve it out, and it doesn't need to run your life at all.
Yeah. So how do you feel, that to be free from any episode or symptoms for more than 10 years?
Oh my gosh, it's the best. I can't even describe the feeling. If anyone out there is suffering with it or challenged with it, just that the emotional component of not having it in the back of your head, right? Like when you have a check engine oil light that comes on in your car and you know that you've got to take care of it at some point. It's like, and then you finally go, it's like that. It's like not having that check engine oil light in your system anymore, and not being in fear of another episode. So just really feeling free to be exactly who you are and not have to hold that in your awareness anymore is an amazing place to be. Yeah. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
I was gonna say, it's funny because when I was in the thick of the episodes, I was exhausted, and that's a hallmark of autoimmune diseases is the fatigue. It can be very debilitating. And so when I started doing this energy work and pulling everything out, it was like the fatigue was the first thing to go. And so now I have more energy than I did when I was, in my 30s, which is amazing to me. I'm in better shape than I was when I was in my 30s. So yeah, I'm really grateful.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in here, Cayenne. I know you have a list of questions, but I do want to try.
No, I'm good.
Oh, yeah. My voice in here somewhere. But
please do.
What was I going to say was that, so my question is too then, say if someone were to come to you and they have an autoimmune disease, deficiency, disorder, if you want to call it, if they come to you, what is the process that you take with them in the concept of quantum healing? So I want to understand what it is you do when you have that first initial connection with someone.
Sure, that's a great question.
Yes.
The first thing I would probably address is, tell me about your symptoms. How are they showing up? And then we would go right away as soon as I have, what's really preventing you physically. Then we're going to go into the energetic and the emotional component. And so this is something that can be a little uncomfortable for people. It's not therapy, but what it's going to help me do is light up that area in your physicality that is holding that energy that's blocking you and blocking the body from being in its optimal state. So in other words, if someone's telling me they have fatigue, I want to know, what does that fatigue feel like? What emotion is behind that fatigue? Like, how do you feel when you're in that fatigue? What does that bring up? What memories come up for you? And then we're going to go in there. And what I do is I can intuitively, multidimensionally, I can go in and I can feel that person's energy and feel and receive information about what might have happened in their experiences that have caused that to be stuck, have caused that belief system. There's a lot that comes up around it. It's kind of like a ball of debris, really, that I see it as. And then we take it apart energetically and understand, like, what's the emotional component? What happened at that time? How old were you? I mean, I want people to understand that it's this process, it can take quite a while when we're unwinding everything.
Precisely. Definitely. Interesting. I love that. So then with your projection of the course that's coming up, what are some key achievements, perhaps, that one can feel confident in understanding the reciprocal connection between you and your clients, and how they might, what can they expect from
Sure.
those experiences?
Sure. So I have the course that's coming up, launching I was going to launch it in December. It's looking like January now, just because of obvious reasons. That is actually a course for healing practitioners, Reiki practitioners, who are wanting to understand the energetic components of autoimmune disease a little deeper. Because often what I'm finding, and I was finding when I was early on in the journey as a practitioner, was that just Reiki, not even just Reiki, but there's a much deeper component that is hard to address, because autoimmune disorder is like an onion. It's like peeling away these layers of an onion, but it's a mighty big onion. So there's a lot underneath that has to be addressed. And there's a lot of what we call bypassing, because the body and the psyche and the mind and the emotional system wants to keep us protected and safe, and the ego. So it takes a little bit more understanding and work. So what these practitioners would receive in the course is really a deep understanding and experiential understanding of how autoimmune disorder lodges in the body energetically. And then specific techniques and tools that they can use to go much deeper than they've been able to go before with their work.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Cayenne, you here?
I'm here. I want to jump in and say, so if you just mentioned that the course is more for practitioners, so for someone like myself, a beginners, do you have anything? Do you have any other courses, or when we were chatting the other day, you mentioned perhaps you will have create something for moms, for busy moms like us, right?
Yes,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. Would you like to share with all the mommios who's listening?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So I offer coaching sessions specifically for people with autoimmune disorders, and they're on my website. I know Cayenne has linked all that, and we'll be linking it. So you can go to my sessions page, and it explains a little bit about what we'll be doing. And basically what I do is I, again, kind of take an assessment, a real quick assessment, and then we look at the components right away, the deeper components that want to come forth first and want to be removed first. And then we'll come up with a specific plan with just one or two main things that you can do immediately to start digging away so that you're empowered to work with that. So that could be anything from like an energy meditation where you're looking within your system and using visualization to kind of move some of that stuff out. There's meditation techniques, but it's really all about coaching you and helping you to be empowered, people with autoimmune disorder to be empowered. And I do offer, it's an hour session, 60-minute session. But that's something that you can start with, because eventually I will develop a course for people specifically just with autoimmune disorder. But right now I am offering coaching for that. Yeah.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Because you went through it yourself. So you said you try so many different, or perhaps I could say traditional method through medication, right? And nothing seems to help, and you started or stumble upon, or is it because through research, like what are the connection from nothing work and then you were just started to doing research, or did you meet someone that kind of similar to you now? Like, oh, I have tried this and this has helped me. Like what are the connection back then?
That's a good question too, because it was really divine timing for me. I took the time off, and then I was like, something's got to shift. And I came across a woman online and just working with some emotional pieces. Oh my gosh, is that me? Is that me?
How is clients calling in already? Clients calling in saying,
I have my phone. It can't be my phone because it's on airplane mode. I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh, okay. Is it me? No.
That's all. I can't find it. I am so sorry.
That's
Let's see.
okay.
Oh, you're
That's
kidding.
okay.
I don't even know where it's coming from.
I think it sounds like this sounds like
FaceTime?
Messenger, or I don't know.
Oh, that might be. Let me look and see.
Sure. So, well, meanwhile,
Sure.
Oh, it's really interesting. Oh my gosh, everyone. I apologize sincerely.
Don't.
it's all
don't
I
good.
usually that's never. Oh my gosh, never happened.
Call Sherri now.
Yeah. Wow.
You might.
Gosh. I know. And it was actually coming from, it was interesting, from a practitioner. So there we go.
Interesting.
Right. Like, when are you starting your course, Sherri?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I apologize, everybody.
Hey, don't worry about it, Sherri.
Okay.
It's okay.
So now I'm totally up. What was your question, Cayenne? I am so sorry.
So
Lost my train of thought.
you were mentioning so you tried different things and then nothing really helped, and
Yes.
then how did you get to
So what happened was, so I was led to somebody just in doing my own emotional work and my own kind of childhood work. I was led to somebody who did energy work around that online. And she had some meditations and some writing exercises that were energy related. I thought, oh, this is great. And then, so I did them. And then all of a sudden, all these people started popping into my life, that I went to acupuncture regularly. That was one thing that I started. That was probably the first thing I started with. And then that led me to emotional freedom technique. And then that led me to yoga, and that led me to meditation. And then that led me to Reiki. So it was very divinely guided into my life. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, I did some research on Reiki and just trying to understand it more. And then basically the first, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand is kind of first step is clearing out. It's almost like an emotional detox, right? Taking out all the negative energy first. That's the first step.
Yes.
And then I guess that kind of connect with what you're saying. So our people say when you're stressed, that's when you get sick, right? Your immune system kind of like lowering your immune system when you're stressed. So people always say mind over matter. In this case, it's kind of true, isn't it then?
Yes. And I think, stress is a trigger for people with autoimmune disorder too. So stress is something like if you haven't eliminated stressful, and remember, stress is different for everybody. We all have this kind of neurological load, that we can carry or not carry. And so if you haven't looked at your stress, that's a really important component for autoimmune disorder. So, and sometimes that's the hardest one, because especially when you're a mom, I was a mom of 2 kids and I was working full time, and it was like, what could I change in my life that would cause me less stress? So looking at your life and being like, okay, I don't like to clean. Like cleaning my house makes me tired and it's stressful for me. So how can I make that easier? Something like that. I don't like.
Yes,
I don't
to
like,
that.
Yeah, like I don't like to cook. I'm not good at it, or it wears me out. So how can I? Can I order meals out, or can I order meal kits, or can I ask my partner to do that for me, or something like that. So eliminating the stress is a big component. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Well, I also have another question.
Right.
Caitlin, if you have questions, just go ahead and come on in, because you know that I will just talk nonstop. But I was going to ask you, Sherri, like for the audience who have been recently diagnosed with autoimmune disease and are looking for, so let's say, I don't want to take so much medication, like I want to take more a natural route, right? The approach. I guess for you as someone who kind of like dealt with it, right? And manage your own symptoms, and what are your top 3 like recommendations for people that are seeking for the natural way to manage it?
Yes. Stress, number 1, is to take a look at your stress load. And again, it's different for everybody. And it can be difficult because what you find stressful, someone else may not. And so you really have to stand in your power and be like, I cannot do this, like, and be okay with that, you know.
Okay.
Managing schedules and things like that. That's number one. The second one I would say is what you're putting into your body. So natural foods, organic foods, what you're putting on your body too. So what kind of use soaps, anything that we want to make sure that it's completely natural, as natural ingredients as possible, nothing inorganic, you know, that's manufactured if you can. And as far as food, it's different for everybody. For me, again, I'm not a doctor. This is my experience, and I talk to other people with autoimmune diseases. I avoid gluten. I've been able to play with this a little bit since I've been symptom free, but in the beginning, no gluten, no dairy, very few eggs, basically just lots of veggies, lots of veggies and fruit, and then some type of protein is what has helped me. I stay away from all of that, and it really has helped me a lot.
One thing that's surprised me is that my friend who's been dealing with multiple sclerosis for years he's done a lot of research, but he still has flare-ups. One thing is grains. He can't eat grains. So no rice, no quinoa, nothing.
No rice?
Yeah.
I know. So, and then my question is, so then if you have a child, because, you know, autoimmune diseases are starting to show up a lot for children. And so as a mother and as a father, would you say that really working on the stress levels that is in their environment as a way to lessen the stress load for these little children? Because I think the thing that we forget, because we get so busy with trying to get everything done, is we forget that on a daily basis, we forget that children are little sponges, right? And so one way that we can really help to balance that is helping within the environment itself. So maybe parents can start to work on their stress levels and then let that trickle down and help the stress level of the children. Would you say?
Absolutely. That's a really, really good point, Caitlin, because especially now there's so many, like, you know, I raised my kids are 26 and 23. So it was a totally different world back then. Now there's just so many factors that are bombarding kids right now, you know, the technologies and the foods aren't the same and everything is, So yes, always as parents, I think it's really important to look at ourselves first and how we can bring our stress levels down, because that will obviously affect your kids.
Yes.
No doubt. And especially if you have an autoimmune disorder, that's stressful in itself. So and the child will pick up on that, you know. So how can you center yourself and bring yourself into a state of more peacefulness, so that it's not affecting the children in that way as well?
Big time.
Yeah.
So then, Cayenne, everything that we've already started to talk about on this show can be implemented for the parent into the children as a practice that these families can start really implementing.
Absolutely. So far, Sherri mentioned stress level, managing the stress level. You know, it's okay not to be like do it all, right? Moms often say no. I can do it all. Yeah, it's okay to say no. It's okay that if I don't like to do something. So stress level. Number 2 is what we consume, what we eat, right? What we put into our body and on our body, the biggest organ. And then do you have a point number 3? Top favorite too?
Yes. Honestly, and this one is going to be uncomfortable for some people, because it certainly was for me, is to really take a look within yourself too. So it's very easy for us to externalize everything and say, okay, if I change this and this and this. But what I found was the biggest component was an underlying emotional component. And I've heard that from many, many people with autoimmune disorders. So autoimmune disorders have a lot to do with, as everything does, and it's how we feel about ourselves, right? The autoimmune, like turning in on yourself, if we look at it from a spiritual perspective. that doesn't mean that if you have autoimmune disease, you've got all this emotional stuff. You are probably a very empathic person. You're probably a very sensitive person. You probably have, a neurological load that is maybe fills up quicker than other people, right? So you have to kind of weigh all those things and remember that traumatic experiences for some people are not traumatic for other people. So what is your load? What is your emotional load? And what is still poking at you? What triggers you and kind of clenches you up? Taking a look at that stuff and allowing that to run through you and really either seeking therapy for it or energy work or something that can kind of help you to release some of that stuff.
Yeah. And yes, one thing, sorry, I forgot. I thought there was a third that was already spoken about, but that also then I was just thinking about how, for me, with our babies and my Eva being around 6 years old right now, I really started to get into astrology a lot, especially once my Eva came around. And one thing that I've noticed to understand her method of working through her emotions, of understanding her wounds that she came into this world with.
Yes.
And that's where you, Sherri, I think with your work, you really get into the multidimensional self where we have these lives and these generations behind us that all come in with us. And so perhaps then too, as a parent, we can really start to understand how not even within our genetics, but also within our little babies and how they come into this world as independent souls, but then what they bring with them into this world and how we can understand their mechanisms of coping and with stress and emotions. Right? Would you say that too, Sherri? Is that a good way to?
It's very, very accurate. It's really well said. Yeah, we do. There's so many. We are multidimensional, right? So we have so many things floating around in us, and we're very complex. Human beings are just complex by nature, with all our different relationships and work relationships and things that we like and don't like, and our uniqueness. So yeah, it's important to note that we do pass things on emotionally to our children, ancestrally to our children in our DNA. And so working with that, when you shift the things in yourself and you shift those lines, those ancestral lines and DNA lines, you're shifting that for your children. You're shifting that for your grandchildren. So it is really important to get into that piece. Thank you. That was, very well said.
Wonderful.
Wow. It kind of works hand in hand together, right? Like
it really does.
You go back in, and then once you understand and okay with yourself and make peace or for whatever past happened to you, then therefore your stress level decrease, and there you go.
Yes, and you're more able to take care of yourself through your food and you just focus towards that. Yes.
That's awesome. Great. Well, here with, raising kids naturally, Caitlin and I got together and started doing this together. Our goal is to help 100 young families to achieve time and financial freedom through living a healthy lifestyle. So what about you, Sherri? You briefly mentioned your goal before, but what do you see yourself now? Like, what is, your goal with your life and or even with your course?
Yeah. So my goal overall really is to help people remember who they are at a core level. So really to empower them to just be in the place where they're loving their life all around, everything about it. That's my goal. And I do that through energy work. My goal for the course is to really help practitioners. I like that you have a number of people that I like that. I should come up with a number of people that I want to help. But my goal with healing practitioners is I think that autoimmune disorders are on the rise. I know they're on the rise. I know that it's very pertinent right now. And I'm really feeling like it's one way to expand or fan out this mission of really learning who we are and learning to love ourselves through this course, helping practitioners to help their clients learn to love themselves and take ownership for exactly who they are and be the best version of them.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's wonderful. Well,
Yes.
good.
Thank you so much for, for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. And viewers, listeners, if you are tuning in, please share with us where are you watching this from. And then if you have any specific questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to Sherri, correct? Sherri?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes. And then I know, so I already have included her social media information down in the description section, Facebook and Instagram. And also website. So you have different ways to reach out to Sherri.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyan and Caitlin, for having me on. This was so much fun. And so I love the work you two are doing. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
So great to thank you. It's so great to
Sherri.
have you here and then learning from you. And we are looking forward to see your course coming out in January. So 2022. So stay tuned, everyone. Once again, if you are a practitioner, if you want to, or just like us, moms, and wants to learn more or, from Sherri, please reach out to her. And then otherwise, we will see you next week. All right.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.